And here, the duality. It's just a moment, but it only takes one. A side of Egger's storytelling that I'm thankful hasn't had more screen time. A noticeable problem with his previous venture, The Lighthouse, and his preceding Nosferatu. An increasing sexual undertone that turns a moment of gut-wrenching tension driven by stellar performance, lighting and camera work into a moment that I wish I could erase from my mind. For me, this revelation, this monumental moment, it's overshadowed by this explicit second. I understand the intention here, to shock the audience, make them feel for Amleth, even deeper than ever. The plight in which he finds himself betrayed by the one constant in the life of man, their own mother. And look, in general, I would say that Nicole Kidman, in her current Build-A-Bear state, was a baffling cast. Part of me has to admit that she pulls her weight in this scene, even though I still can't seem to reconcile with the sexual undertone. I can still admire the attempt. And call it a prejudice that I have towards Eggers, with his predisposition to this kind of bizarre content in his films. I'm not sure, but as my tutor rightfully pointed out, I didn't seem to have much of a problem with a twist like this in Paul Anderson's The Broken Sword. So, basically what I'm saying here, I can't fully justify my point. I can only say that in the context of this film and in the context of Eggers and this specific narrative, I don't feel it adds anything. It would have been just as much of a shock for me for her to have admitted her love for Fjolnir. I want to propose an alternate cut. Could you watch this film entirely in Old Norse? It's a question I ask myself time and time again when researching this review. And simply for the fact that we ended up with bangers like Gibson's Apocalypto, well, I think I'd give it a go. This was almost the cut we got. Part of me is sad I never seen it. But part of me knows this is one of the rare cases where studio interference ended up with the creation of a better film. Up to this point in his career, Eggers has always had Final Cut working with smaller budgets and more relaxed studios. However, I think in this case it would have been to his detriment. I would advocate usually for the director to get final say, final cut, full creative control. They know what they want for the film, and they should be able to make it. This is not an argument that Eggers alone should be the only director not allowed final cut. But I think it's an interesting observation to compare this film's content, tone, and overall emotional potency between his other ventures. I say this, lightly. This is the greatest film he's made so far in his career. Do I think it could be the greatest he will ever make? Well, judging by the direction his career is going, it is entirely a possibility, but I still hold out hope. This finale cements to me why I think this film is his greatest. Why it works so well. And that's because of the setup. By the early stages of the film, It's clear to the audience. Amleth never lets his guard down. This is his sole form of physical and emotional protection. He builds his fort, and he sits in it. However, in the moment, he is vulnerable enough to drop those walls. He's betrayed and injured. This cuts deep because it is also known to us from the beginning. We will see him die from the very first line. We've been watching the slow and arduous death of a protagonist that is easy to identify with, unlikable. And as much as we pain to see it, we must let him go. We must grieve him. And this is how. A 23-second hold on the wide, a shot designed to mirror that of the cataclysm in the final moments of Ragnarok. Notice the silence. Amleth has achieved his mission, avenged his father, secured his lineage, avoided a straw death, and proved himself worthy for Valhall, to fight out his days as an Einherjar. But most importantly, Eggers deliver to us the 23-second to process, but not enough to accept. So now we have something more to think of when the camera cuts and the credits roll. But I want to finish off here with a comparison. Why the lighting, shot style of this scene feels so familiar.
Yes, of course. As you wish, Your Majesty.
Should Simba have murdered Scar, he would have sealed a fate similar to that of Amleth. In doing so, both films proved to be an excellent example of Confucius. If embarking on a mission of revenge, dig two graves.